Curiosity is a funny thing. It's the force that drives discovery and innovation, but it's also the voice that whispers, "I dare you to look behind the door." Sometimes you really, really shouldn't. I don't know why I'm telling this. Maybe to warn people. Maybe just to get it out so I don't feel like I'm going insane. You read stories like this on the internet and you think, no way, that's fake, just a good writer. I used to be one of those people. I'm not anymore. On the outskirts of my town, there's this old, decaying corpse of a building everyone calls Blackwood Manor. It's been empty for as long as anyone can remember. The story goes that the Blackwood family, who built it over a century ago, just vanished one night. One minute they were the town's wealthiest family, the next, they were gone. The house was left exactly as it was, dinner plates still on the table, clothes in the closets. Of course, we all grew up hearing the ghost stories, lights in the windows, strange noises, the usual stuff you tell kids to keep them away from a derelict property. For me and my friends, Liam and Chloe, it was the ultimate challenge. We were amateur urban explorers, our weekends spent breaking into abandoned warehouses and forgotten factories. But Blackwood Manor was the holy grail. It was fenced off with no trespassing signs that were so rusted they looked like part of the landscape. 2 weeks ago, on a dare fueled by cheap beer and the arrogance of being 21, we decided to do it. We packed flashlights, a crowbar, and my camera, and waited for the sun to dip below the horizon, casting the manor in long, skeletal shadows. Getting over the fence was easy. The air inside the grounds was immediately different. Colder, still, the kind of silence that presses in on your ears. The house loomed over us, a 3-story Victorian monstrosity with boarded-up windows like blind eyes. The paint was peeling, the porch was sagging, but it still had a kind of horrifying grandeur. "This is it," Liam whispered, his voice full of a nervous excitement we all felt. The front door was bolted shut, but a ground floor window had its boards partially rotted away. With a bit of work from the crowbar, we pried them loose and slipped inside, one by one, into the suffocating darkness. The beam of my flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing a grand foyer. A thick carpet of dust covered everything, muffling our footsteps. A massive, cobweb-draped chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling. To our left, a wide staircase swept upwards into the shadows. What struck me immediately was the smell. It wasn't just dust and decay, it was something else. Something faintly sweet and cloying, like old, forgotten perfume mixed with rot. And the legends were true. The place was frozen in time. In the dining room, we found the table set for 4, fine china covered in a gray film of dust. A child's doll sat on one of the chairs, its porcelain face cracked into a nightmarish grin. "Creepy," Chloe muttered, hugging herself. "Let's get some pictures and go." We explored the ground floor first. The library was a wreck, books swollen and moldy, spilling from their shelves. The kitchen was a time capsule of rust and grime. We were jumpy, every creak of the floorboards making us flinch, but so far it was just an old, spooky house, nothing more. The first weird thing happened when we decided to go upstairs. As Liam put his foot on the first step of the grand staircase, a sound echoed from the top floor. Thump, thump, thump. It was slow, rhythmic, like someone dragging something heavy. We froze, our flashlight beams aimed at the top of the stairs. The sound stopped. "Probably just a loose shutter in the wind," Liam said, but his voice lacked conviction. "There is no wind," Chloe whispered back. She was right, the air in the house was dead still. Against our better judgment, we continued up. The second floor was a series of bedrooms. The master bedroom had a huge 4-poster bed, the curtains rotted to lace. In another room, we found a collection of old photographs on a dresser. A stern-looking man, a woman with sad eyes, and 2 young children, a boy and a girl. The Blackwoods. I snapped a few photos, the flash of my camera feeling like a violation. The last room at the end of the hall was the nursery. The door was slightly ajar. As we pushed it open, the sweet, rotten smell hit us like a physical blow. The room was painted a pale blue, now stained with water damage. A single rocking horse stood in the middle of the floor, but it was the walls that made my blood run cold. They were covered in children's drawings, scribbled in what looked like black crayon. They started off normal enough, houses, trees, smiling stick figures. But as we moved our flashlights around the room, the drawings became more and more disturbing. The stick figures were no longer smiling. They were screaming, their mouths wide, empty circles. And in every drawing there was another figure, a tall, impossibly thin man with long, spindly arms and no face, just a smooth, blank oval where a face should be. In one drawing he was standing behind the family. In another he was holding the little girl's hand. In the last, most faded drawing, he was alone, standing inside the drawing of the house. "Okay, I'm done," Chloe said, her voice trembling. "This is not right. We need to leave, now." I agreed. The fun had evaporated, replaced by a thick, pressing dread. But as we turned to leave the nursery, the rocking horse in the center of the room began to move. It rocked back and forth, slowly at first, then faster and faster. Creak, croak, creak, croak. The sound was deafening in the silence. None of us were touching it. None of us were even near it. We just stood there, paralyzed by a fear so pure and absolute it felt like ice in my veins. That's when we heard the whisper. It wasn't in English. It was a dry, sibilant sound that seemed to come from all around us and from inside our own heads at the same time. The air grew impossibly cold. I could see my breath misting in the beam of my flashlight. Liam broke the spell. "Run!" We didn't need to be told twice. We scrambled out of the nursery, tripping over each other in our panic. We fled down the hallway, but the house seemed to be fighting us. A door slammed shut in front of us, and we had to wrench it open. The whispers followed us, seeming to laugh. I risked a glance behind me down the dark hallway. For a split second I saw it, standing in the doorway of the nursery, a tall, thin shadow, darker than the surrounding darkness. It didn't have a shape, not really. It was more like a tear in the fabric of reality. And from the center of it I felt a malevolence, so ancient and profound it made my soul ache. We half fell, half tumbled down the grand staircase. The cloying, sweet smell was everywhere now, thick and suffocating. We made it to the foyer and scrambled for the window we'd come through. Liam went first, then Chloe. I was last. As I was halfway through the opening, I felt something cold and impossibly strong grab my ankle. I screamed, a raw animal sound of pure terror. I kicked out wildly, my boot connecting with nothing solid, but the grip released. Liam and Chloe dragged me the rest of the way out, and we ran. We didn't stop running until the rusted fence was far behind us and the sounds of the town were a comforting hum in the distance. We collapsed on the side of the road, gasping for air, covered in dust and scratches. We didn't talk about what happened. We couldn't. That should be the end of the story. But it's not. It's been 2 weeks and I haven't had a full night's sleep since. I keep seeing him in the corner of my eye, a tall, thin shadow that vanishes when I turn to look. Things in my apartment move when I'm not looking. A cup on a different counter, a book on the floor, and the smell, that sweet, rotten smell. Sometimes I'll catch a whiff of it when I'm walking home or when I wake up in the middle of the night. Liam and Chloe are experiencing it too. Liam's dog won't stop barking at an empty corner of his room. Chloe says she hears whispers coming from her closet at night. We shouldn't have gone in there. We disturbed something that was sleeping. I look at the photos I took, and in the reflection of the glass on one of the picture frames, you can see it. Faint, but it's there. A tall, dark shape standing right behind me. I don't know what it wants. I don't think it's a ghost. It feels older, hungrier. We woke it up, and I think it followed us home. Or maybe a piece of it attached itself to each of us. I'm writing this with all the lights on, and I keep checking over my shoulder, because I have this horrible sinking feeling that sooner or later it's going to get tired of just watching. Last night was the worst. I woke up at 3 a.m. freezing cold and saw my bedroom door was open, just a crack. I know I closed it. I live alone. I stared into that sliver of darkness, too scared to breathe, and I swear I could hear that faint, dry whispering from the nursery. It sounded like it was trying to say my name. I didn't sleep again. I don't think I can stay here anymore, but I have this terrifying feeling that it doesn't matter where I go. It's not the house that's haunted, it's us.